Good afternoon to everybody, and good morning, depending on where you are. My name is Grant Bycowie, and I'm going to open up our webinar today. Thanks for joining us. We're talking today about discovering Microsoft 365 for enterprise. We've got lots and lots to cover today, and so we're going to get into it in just a sec. Like I said, my name is Grant. I'm a product director here at Rogers Business, working on the Microsoft portfolio. And I'm joined by a couple of experts that are going to help with the webinar today. Ryan Rashwan, who's a product manager in Rogers Business for Microsoft 365 in our portfolio here. And Sunpreet Sahota, who's also from Microsoft. He's the expert that's actually going to take us through some of the great feature capabilities and new capabilities that are coming up in Microsoft 365. So just by way of agenda, today I think we're here for as much as 90 minutes. I'm just gonna kick it off very briefly and just talk a little bit about what Rogers Business and Microsoft have been doing together recently. We've formed a strategic alliance, and there's some very cool stuff that's actually being worked on as a result of that. Then we're going to flip it over to Sunpreet, who will take us through kind of the meat of the presentation today. Lots of information about M365, what's new for the enterprise space. And then Ryan's going to talk a little bit about, why Rogers and what Rogers is doing to help bring value into this, and why we would love to be talking to you about your Microsoft 365 needs. During the entire webinar, if you've got questions, feel free to just type them into the chat. As we're going through this, we'll do our best to answer your questions through the chat forum as best we can. There will be a period at the very end for some Q&A to just wrap up. And of course, if we haven't answered your question, we'll make sure that we are able to do so following the webinar. I believe also, Richa, keep me honest, this presentation, the recording and/or the presentation will be made available for folks. So if you want, you don't have to furiously take screen grabs. You can definitely, we'll make this available for you. Okay.
Yeah, we'll share everything.
Perfect. Okay, so very quickly, Rogers Business and Microsoft have been very busy working together, and last year we actually formed a 5-year strategic alliance, and that's really an agreement to work together to innovate and build and modernize applications to enhance customers' digital experiences. That's kind of the high-level description of it. It spans a number of different areas where we're going to be looking at how do we bring the power of Rogers' networking, both wireless and wireline, together with Microsoft applications to enhance and grow experiences for customers. So one of the very first areas where we've been working on is in the area of unified communications, and actually extending and adding to how Microsoft Teams can be used in your enterprise for all of your voice communications, for example. A little bit further on down the line in terms of our roadmap, we'll be doing more in terms of building 5G experiences directly into some of the Microsoft applications. So there's some pretty exciting stuff that we have planned in the coming years. But the first thing that we did actually as a result of the alliance was we had launched in October of last year something called Teams Phone Mobile, and that is actually we were the first in the world. We're pretty excited about that, to bring a wireless device and make it a native endpoint within the Teams environment. There's lots of really interesting customer benefits and user benefits to doing that. And we are actually going to be able to expand an awful lot more on that and how we're helping to enable Teams in an upcoming webinar on the 26th of April. So today, again, our focus is going to be more on the 365 core capabilities itself, but we'll be able to talk about connectivity and how we're enhancing Teams in an upcoming webinar. So, it's kind of grounded a bit in the history of firsts. Even though we signed this agreement and we've come together with Microsoft on this new strategic basis last year, we've been in the business of supporting Microsoft 365 for many years now. Rogers is the largest telco cloud solution provider in Canada for Microsoft 365. So we've got over 30,000 customers that we support. So we do it. We do a lot of it, and have been doing over the years. Really, the focus more recently has been kind of how do we build some of those pieces in terms of enterprise voice, and attach it into the ecosystem to bring more value for unified communications. So we were the first ones to roll out Operator Connect in Canada. Many of you may have heard of that. And then, like I said, Teams Phone Mobile is the newest carrier offering that we have that we're connecting to Teams. More information. I promise I'm going to stop talking about Teams Mobile because we have an awful lot of 365 to talk about for the next little while. But if you want to learn more about this in terms of Teams Phone Mobile, what it can do, you can go to rogers.com/Teams Phone Mobile, and actually you'll be able to sign up there if you are interested in hearing more next week in our webinar. There's a link there to sign up for that as well. So with that, I think I'm going to turn it over to Sanpreet, and he'll be able to take us through Microsoft 365 and what's new and what's there for enterprise.
Awesome, Grant. Thank you so much for that. Really appreciate it. Can't say enough about this amazing partnership that both our organizations are a part of, and with that, thank you everybody for taking the time out this afternoon, morning, wherever you are, to join us today for this webinar. So as alluded, Sanpreet Sahota. I work as part of the larger Microsoft team that supports Rogers on in this cadence in this partnership that we have embarked on. And today I want to use the time that we have allocated today to take you all through a journey through Business Premium, Microsoft 365 E3, and Microsoft 365 E5 as well. So why don't we go ahead and kick things off here. So do we want to get this video first? Yeah.
Or we can even come to it towards the end, and treat like
perfect.
After after your slide, and then
no problem. So let's just keep on tricking through here. Awesome. So before we start, I always kind of like to set the stage with what we coin here at Microsoft as doing more with less. So this language or this philosophy is it trickles down to everything that we do, whether it's at Microsoft with great partners like Rogers, and ultimately going into our product as well with some of the more recent announcements that have been made around the AI side of the house. But it's this whole idea of how do you extrapolate the maximum amount of value in your investments when it comes to technology, right? And this is the conversation where we really want to have, and this is why Microsoft is doing the investments, making the type of plays that you are seeing in the market, is to ensure that we are empowering our customers, right, to be able to achieve more with less. So less technology, less fragmented environments, less contracts, less vendors, more of a platform, a suite of holistic solutions that are going to support your business needs and your business objectives. So keep that theme in mind as we go through this presentation of achieving more with less. So kind of kind of set the stage, right? We're no strangers to this. Before the pandemic happened, we all remember traditional work. You get up, you have your commute, you get ready, you go into the office, you have your desk, you got your device there, your laptop, desktop, you got your desk phone, you have your cabinet, your storage, you got a bulletin board, that classic old school way of having that traditional 9-to-5 office. And also with the pandemic hitting and us moving into a complete remote environment, right, for a few years, and then emerging from that remote environment, pivoting towards this hybrid environment that we all are accustomed to, right? And even that it continues to evolve, it continues to grow. But I think one argument that can be made is hybrid work for the foreseeable future is not going anywhere, right? And in fact, from what Microsoft's seeing is 74% of customer companies, if they haven't already, are planning to make that shift permanently, right? So I think that's the key word here, is that organizations and employees are both seeing the benefits of hybrid work when done correctly, and it does have positive outcomes both on, you know, that the whole work-life balance that we all aspire to achieve, but overall just on the bottom line of the business and ultimately the customer satisfaction that your customers are experiencing. But then the big question really becomes is, if this is where the market is heading, this is where the trend is going, and you know, hybrid work is here to stay, how do we maximize that? How do we ensure that we have what we need set in place to ensure that we are successful for the near term, but also accounting for, you know, the growth, right? The demand that's going to be coming down the pipeline, right? It's rework is never fun, right? So it's, hey, what are the correct choices and the correct investments my organization should be looking at right now to ensure that we are set up for the future, whatever that might be, right? And part of it also goes into that discussion about choosing the right technology. You know, I've been in this market for about 10 plus years exclusively in the Microsoft stack. And one of the other things I've seen working with many different customers is also, you know, the importance of also partnering with the right organization to make sure that they are aligning to what you ultimately want to do with your business to ensure that you're successful, right? So it's not only choosing the technology, but it's also going in with that technology with the right partner who is going to be set, who's going to help you to be successful for years and years to come. So with that being said, you know, what are three categories or three attributes that we can kind of put hybrid work, or the need, or this need for productivity in this cloud first environment? You know, what are some attributes we can rally around? So and this in hybrid environment, from what we see in the market, the very first one is real-time collaboration, right? Transforming the way your employees work, transforming the way your customers interact with you as well, right? How are you going to rely on technology to either accelerate or enable that real-time collaboration, right? Being able to work on a single document with my colleague who might be sitting halfway around the world, right? Something even more simplistic as, hey, they're sitting on the other side of the office, I'm on the other side of the office. How do we ensure that we can have that instant communication, that instant collaboration? But then also doing that with confidence. And when I say with confidence, right, ensuring that the security is there as well. If if I'm an employer, my employees, right, I'm trying to retain and hire the best in breed and talent, and keep them, and I'm offering this remote from work environment flexibility, you know, them being, whether they're working from their house, whether they're working from a coffee shop, whether they're on an airplane terminal waiting for their flight, how do we ensure that they have the confidence to log in, do what they need to do, without also making it complicated and intrusive in their workflow? So security with cyber attacks, malware, phishware, network stalking, traffic analyzing by these hackers. It just goes on and on and on. The amount of current and new threats that are emerging day by day. So how do we ensure that we're always on top of our game when it comes to security? And then finally, the cost component, right? How do we ensure that we, you know, are managing our budget allocated for whatever might be hardware, yearly renewals, new project to hybrid? How do we ensure that we are maximizing that investment to ensure that our costs are as low as possible? And I'll get into some of these examples as we go through the Microsoft 365 SKUs and how that TCO kind of comes into play. But you know, at a very high level, when you go on Microsoft 365, you're actually going on a platform. It's built on our Microsoft Azure cloud platform. And on that cloud platform, you have an offering of Microsoft 365 that comes in different flavors. And depending on what flavor you decide is the right optimal fit for your organization, it might do a couple of things, right? It might help you displace current vendors that, you know, they're great with what they do, but with what your organization is trying to do, it might not align well. So at a very, very base level, right, looking at where consolidation can occur in your IT environment, where we can displace some other vendors with some of the product offerings that our Microsoft 365 suite of solutions can offer. And again, that ties back to working with a credible partner that can lead you through that conversation and lead you through that journey of helping you identify where can we right size, where can we consolidate, and where we could eventually even replace some of those technology footprints that you already have in your environment. So I kind of alluded to it, but this slide back here essentially summarizes, if I can go back, basically summarizes what Microsoft 365 solutions are, right? They're all in one place, and they focus on those three I want to say challenge, but those three frameworks around how do you make a best in breed hybrid environment, right? So enabling people-led transformation with real-time collaboration tools, Microsoft 365 provide that. Safeguarding your business with technology you can trust. So all the security components that we're going to be discussing in this session that also protect your environment, and then helping you reduce cost and increase ability to save. So all of the different tools we have bring their own little flavor of how they can help you reduce that cost. Um, but Microsoft 365 was built with those three frameworks in mind to ensure you're getting the best in breed when it comes to a hybrid solution. Now, before we jump into Microsoft 365, I just want to, sorry, Microsoft 365 Premium E3 and E5. I just wanted to kind of set the stage for what we call today as our attack layer or attack surface, right? Because it's going to be a reoccurring verbiage that you're going to be hearing throughout this presentation. So when I talk about attack layers, and we're going to start with business premium first, but this language, this design language will follow through on all the SKUs. But let's start off with business premium first. So when we talk about you hear zero trust, right? When it comes to security or end-to-end security or securing my entire environment, we want to look at what Microsoft views as the attack surface. So the attack surface is four areas of penetration that a hacker might use to gain access to your environment. So it starts off from the user side or identity, moves on to the device, then the applications, and then finally documents. So let me take everyone through a hypothetical scenario of an organization, how these attack surfaces work. So if we take, for example, Sunpriest XYZ company, right? Online, I have, I use regular email, Hotmail, whatever the case is, the consumer grade products that are available at no cost, right? So when you have an environment like this, the most easiest place for a hacker to get actual access to your environment is usually from the user side, right? They put yourself in your shoes, put yourself in some of your colleagues' shoes that are doing some functions such as responding to RFPs, right? Quotes, other vendors reaching out to them like, hey, look at our pitch card, look at my battle card. This is what we can do. Can we work together? So just imagine about how many emails come throughout the day asking them to either open something up, click on a link, can you forward this to another one, so on and so on. So a lot of these times, if you don't have a well groomed training within your organization, some of us will not make much of that. Someone will find saying, I'll click on it, I'll open the attachment, I'll click on the link, and boom. Before you even know it, that attacker has maliciously put something in that link, put something in that attachment. As soon as a user interacts with it, clicks with it, boom, a virus of whatever of their creation has been targeted to that user. Now what happens is they're going to attack that user's logins, right? Once they get their logins, now they're able to move on to the device, right? Because they can bypass those credential checks with those logins, right? So they got your logins now, boom, they get to your device. From the device, they can go onto your Wi-Fi, sorry, your internet connection. They can compromise a resource device such as a printer, which is also on a network, and then from there, they spread to the applications, right? So think of, for example, SharePoint, something that all your employees would be using in your organization. So maybe they compromise a very visited document in SharePoint. Users click on that and that document's infected, and now it's cascading all through the environment. And by the time that user even realizes that they have clicked something malicious, it's too late. Hackers are in there. They've pretty much got into every single other resource, other attack surfaces in your organization, and now you're at their mercy. So Microsoft 365 Business Premium E3 and E5 try to do is eliminate the exposure of these attack surfaces to get to that ability we've established a zero trust, right? Meaning you actually don't have to worry about security, and I'm saying this in very layman terms, but essentially you don't have to worry about security. The the solution that you have implemented is doing it all for you in the background, right? So you have complete confidence that your users are secure, your data is secure, your application is secure, your devices are secured, enabling that zero trust environment. So some of the services that we can that, and I'm going to call out just a few of them that we already have in Business Premium E3 and E5 to address some of these concerns and attack surfaces are mentioned below here. On the user side, for example, right, you have multi-factor authentication, meaning let's say the user credentials do get compromised and someone tries to log in, you as an admin will get a prompt saying, hey, someone in, even though your company's in Toronto, and you guys are a Canadian company, there's a person or there's an entity sitting in the UK that's trying to get access to your environment. Do you want to approve or not approve? Is this suspicious? Right. So that's one way that we can help with that. On the device side, for example, right, you have the ability to actually wipe a device. So if your policies and the and you've set up everything correctly, you will get a notification that one of your devices has been compromised. So you can actually wipe it, or you can also quarantine it, where that way it's still on your network, but it limits access to that resource or that device. So it's quarantine that device so it doesn't cascade to the rest of your organization, right? Same concept goes with applications, right? You can actually restrict access to trivial uses. So, for example, let's say I was an accountant, right? I'm an accountant, so I work with invoices, PDFs, right? I really shouldn't have the ability to go into customers' personal records, edit things, copy, change, all that stuff. So if someone in accounting got their logins compromised, right? If you have the correct policy set in place and they bypass the device and now they're going to applications, they're trying to change things, edit things, they're trying to copy credit card numbers, things like that. Well, you can lock that down. So at least you know that a subset of your users in your environment will not have that access, even if if logins do get compromised. And then finally, with something like documents, having things such as safe attachment scan, where Microsoft 365, sorry, will actually scan an attached document to ensure that it's not malicious. Same with links, right? I'm not sure if anyone has experienced this, but maybe even in your home Wi-Fi, right? Just whether it's with Rogers or another provider, if you click on a link, sometimes it'll take you to a page and you get a little red flag saying, "Hey, we don't trust this link. We think it's unsafe. Do you still want to proceed, or do you want to take other actions as well?" And that proactive approach is happening on the background through the power of AI as well. So just wanted to call out that too, that is proactively learning via AI. And to kind of hit home that example again, if and this is because Microsoft 365 is built on Microsoft Azure, which has global data centers all around the world. So, for example, if something happens in Spain, there's a new attack or a new threat or a new virus discovered in Spain, right? And it's attacking Microsoft 365 users in Spain. Well, all the users in Canada will get updated with that security, right? Before that virus cascades and makes its way to North America, Microsoft 365 has already gone ahead and be proactive and put measures in place to basically say, hey, these are the attributes and characteristics of this new attack. If we experience anything like that near here in the users in North America, flag it right away. And that's only possible through the use of artificial intelligence. Just wanted to really hammer home that concept of the attack surface throughout for the rest of the presentation. So if we were to summarize Microsoft 365 Business Premium in four baskets or four ways, it is, it's a comprehensive suite of solutions, right? Both security and productivity that's designed to help you collaborate in real time, enable secure access and protect identity, defense against cyber threats and data loss, and easy, secure, and manage devices. All right. And I'm going to go through the productivity part, but the real emphasis on Business Premium E3 and E5 that really separates these three SKUs is the emphasis on the security that comes with them. And these are just some of the services below to kind of call out some of the highlight ones to call out for each one of those verticals. So for collaborating real time, right? Some such as what we're doing right now, getting on Teams, doing a live video, having that ability of having a best in breed collaboration solution, such as Teams, right? And then being able to add on it to it as well, such as what Grant alluded to the earlier to our conversation, having Microsoft Teams as a full replacement for your PBX or your voice needs as well, right? By providing a couple of add-ons such as the business voice add-on or for systems or audio conference, for example, right? Enabling remote secure access, so multi-factor authentication, which I've already kind of called out on, uh, defending against cyber threats. So what we do is we actually have two type of defenders, whether it's premium E3 or E5. Just the services that are in those defenders vary depending on which flavor of Microsoft 365 you choose. But both defenders come in two flavors, right? You have your defender for endpoint, which secures your devices, and then you have defender for Office 365 apps, which are going to secure your applications. Again, securing those through those two threat surfaces that we discussed earlier, right? And then finally, you have easily secure and managed devices with things such as Intune, right, which is a device management solution, which also extends to mobile applications, and then Autopilot as well, which we will discuss later in this presentation. Awesome. So just want to spend some time here on this chart and what this chart actually entails. Let me see if there's another. There we go. Awesome. So one other differentiation I want to make is Microsoft 365 Business Premium, right, is considered a business SKU. So there is that license restriction in the sense that Business Premium goes up to 300 licenses only. And then after 300 licenses, you got to look at either E3 or E5. So you can definitely take advantage of Business Premium and the wonderful capabilities it comes with. But once you kind of hit that 300 mark, your next evolution or your next natural evolution from that is looking at the E3 SKU. And we'll explore some of those differences between Business Premium and E3 because there are a lot of similarities, but there's a lot of big difference. Well, one of them being that license threshold. So what do you actually get in Microsoft 365 Business Premium? So starting right at the top, first you get your cloud services. So whether you go with standard, basic, or premium, they all come with our cloud services, which is Microsoft Teams, Exchange for email, OneDrive for storage, and SharePoint for your organization's internal communications. And this is across the board. Apart from those cloud services, you will also get the ability to use Microsoft 365 in the cloud also as well, the online versions of those productivity applications. Standard and Business Premium take it one step further by also providing you the ability to have desktop apps, so locally installed applications on your machine. But then where Business Premium really shines above and beyond standard and basic is that comprehensive security. So this comprehensive security, which is listed down here, which is just is Intune, information protection, AD, Windows Virtual Desktop, and Microsoft Defender. All right. And out of those, Microsoft Defender for Business is a unique offering that we're going to be doubling down on this presentation, really explore what that really is. But this is what makes Business Premium really compelling in the business SKU lineup because the security that is actually provided is the same. It's not the same, but what it is a hodgepodge of the best security that enterprises are using on E3 and E5. Microsoft selected the ones that are most prevalent and most used and most popular and basically brought it down to the business SKUs here as well. So even though you are on a business premium SKU that is, you know, in the business realm, the security is on par with what you would get on E3 and E5, right? So a great option, and this is again where working with a partner like Rogers to really help you understand, hey, you have 1,000 customer employees, 500 employees, 700 employees, whatever the number is how do we match up the right flavor and the right mix and match of licenses in your organization to maximize, right? Identifying which users in your organization we can have business premium with, right? And then once you kind of maximize those 300, or maybe you only need like 200 of business premium, how many additional can maximize on E3 and how many additional we can get on E5. So helping you have those conversations of identifying the correct user personas in your organization and really aligning the correct flavors of Microsoft 365 to ensure you're getting the maximum coverage and the right allocation of those licenses to the correct users. So let's have a look at what Microsoft 365 Defender actually is. So similar to the previous solution I mentioned, if we were to put some pillars or attributes around what Microsoft Defender is, it's these three things. It's enterprise grade protection, which I've already alluded to. It's also easy to use. One of the things I really love about Defender for Business is it's it's um it's very self-serve, right? And what I mean by that is you don't have to be technical, you don't have to have a certification in security to actually deploy and set it up. It's all done via a setup wizard. You do a couple of clicks, it runs automatically. It's going to walk you through it. Click yes, click no, enable, disable. Do you want to put this policy, that? But it's very self walkthrough. So you don't have to be an expert in security or Microsoft 365 to actually get it set up. It's actually self-serve pretty good. And then also on the cost-effective side, and what I mean by that is, on the security in there is so comprehensive. It's touching so many different attack surfaces in your organization that chances are you'll either be able to displace a current security vendor or complement another security vendor, which if you were to go with them with that same service would either be a upsell, right? Or you have to buy on and add additional licenses to enable that same functionality. How can we help with that right mix and match of what you currently have from a security vendor perspective, either augmenting it, right? Or looking at a complete replacement of it as well. So what we're showing here is the comparison of Microsoft 365 Defender for Business, which you are seeing right over here, compared to Microsoft Defender for Plan 1 and Microsoft Defender for, Defender for Endpoint Plan 1 and Defender for Endpoint Plan 2. Now, what I will call out is Defender for Endpoint Plan 1 and Plan 2 are both available in E3 and E5 as well. But this is to really highlight the value that you're getting on the business premium SKU. The business premium SKU in the business world is considered, for Microsoft, it's considered our creme de la creme. It's considered our Lamborghini, right? It comes loaded with all the bells and whistles, all the cool services, all the cool features, is gassed up and is doing 100 kilometers on the highway. All right, so based on that, Microsoft went to really great lengths to really deliver a lot of value on Microsoft Business Premium when it comes to the Defender side of the house. Another cool story I'll share is going back to that TCO, total cost of ownership. So Microsoft Defender for Business was released last year in March. If you were a Business Premium user, right, and you bought Business Premium in 2019, when Defender for Business came out, it was a free upgrade to all Business Premium users. Why? Because number one, you're on a suite, you're on a platform. We're able to push these out to you, right? It could have easily have been a payable upgrade or a payable add-on, which by the way, you can also get it as an add-on if you do choose to. Like, let's say if you just have basic or standard for a reason, just a side tidbit. But Microsoft could have just chose, hey, we're just going to make this a paid add-on only. But to really hit home and emphasize that concept of being on a platform and it continuously upgrading and improving and making itself better, business premium users got Microsoft Defender for Business at no additional cost. Awesome. So this slide over here really hits home to the point of before and after, right? So pre-Microsoft Defender for Business on Microsoft 365 Business Premium, it ended at pretty much identity, access, and security, right? Where you had your multi-factor authentication, you had a little bit of device management, and also you had your email collaboration and security on it also as well. Since the release of Microsoft Defender for Business at no additional cost, we have added significant services to the device security capabilities of it. That's why that previous slide that if you recall, the comparison was between Defender for Endpoint Plan 1 and Defender for Endpoint Plan 2, because it introduces a lot of security features, such as Intune, for example, that were usually reserved for E3 and E5, but found that they were also work well in the SMB market as well, in the business market with business premium. So this slide really emphasizes and hits on all the new services that we offered that are now available in Defender for Business that were not available almost about a year and some change before. And this slide over here is a nice. I like this slide to put in here because it helps us visually understand how some of these flavors stack up. So for the purpose of this call, I know standard is here as well, but I would drive your attention to business premium E3 and E5. And you remember to my earlier comment where, business premium and E3, they do share some similarities, but also some differences in terms of qualifying which one might be right for you. For all in all, they're pretty much similar across the board. There are some components of E3 that are exclusive to E3 you will just not get in E5. For example, the Azure Information Protection Plan 1 is exclusive to E3. Also, Cloud App Discovery, Azure Active Directory Connect Health, and Secure Sign-On. Secure Single Sign-On for more than 10 apps is also something that's exclusive to E3. But more than that, one way that I would leave everybody on the call, you just kind of understand what might be the right fit if you are looking at that E3 and business premium, is really looking at it from this level over here. Okay, so the very first one is the number of users, so 300 users, right? If you're below that, business premium is a great place for you to start off at. If you know you're going to be going above that, you want to go to looking at E3. The next differentiation that we have here is in business premium, you get the business version of the productivity apps, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, Publisher, and Access. But in the E3 version, you get the Pro Plus. So the Pro Plus actually have the ability, if you are doing, let's say, a Citrix environment, right? You need that hosted virtualization. You need Pro Plus applications for it to actually connect. So that's why it's another companion. So if you are going to be doing that hosted virtualization of your environment, you probably want to stick with E3 because it comes with that Pro Plus version of the productivity apps as opposed to the business ones. Moving on down, you also get unlimited Outlook and Exchange Online. So that's your emailing as opposed to 50 gigabytes that you get with Business Premium. Moving on down, when it comes to your SharePoint, your Yammer, or your Planner, you get 1 terabyte per user, and on Microsoft 365 is unlimited. Now, I say unlimited with a grain of salt because what it actually does is I believe you have about uh, I could double check, but from if memory serves me correct, it's 10 terabytes, right? And then after 10 terabytes, it gets tiered, right? So they'll unlock another 1 gig every single time you need additional space. So it's not like you have infinite amount and you just go crazy. It's up to 10 terabytes, and then after 10 terabytes, they unlock additional gigs as your storage expands and grows and grows and grows and grows. But just some things to keep in mind as you're kind of also thinking of which one would be the right fit for your organization if you are about to have those conversations or you're in those conversations or for whenever those discussions might come up. A nice way to kind of help you understand, hey, do I go with the business premium or the E3? From the security side, E3 and E3 and business premium are very like for life. What I say to most folks is you should feel utmost extreme confidence in the security capabilities, whether you go with business premium or E3. Is some of these other differences that I would definitely ensure that I've hashed out before making the right before pulling the trigger. And then obviously on E5 is very similar to E3, but we'll explore some of the reasons why you want to why you would look at E5, because as you can see here, there are quite a lot of check marks on the E5 when you compare to E3 and also business premium. So with that, let's shift our attention and focus to Microsoft 365 E3. And Microsoft 365 E3 touches a lot as well. It is very encompassing when it comes to the collaboration side, the productivity side, and also the security side as well, right? It's it's there to help you with eliminating a lot of redundant solutions and really cascade these 5 different categories into 3 ones, right? So it touches on devices, it touches on your operating system, it's going to touch on security, it's going to touch on the management of those devices and applications, and then finally the collaboration side of it also as well. If we aggregate these 5 different topics and we simplified it into 3 buckets, it would be, that zero trust foundations. How do we get to that zero trust? How do we simplify the management of devices and endpoints? And how do we ensure productivity and collaboration is best in class? So to help with zero trust, to achieve zero trust, this is the journey that we take on, is secure and manage identity. So again, think back to those attack surfaces, defend against threats on multi-platforms, and then protect sensitive information across data estates. So let's look at the first one, right? Secure and manage identities. And we've talked about a couple of these already, right? Is Azure Active Directory and Intune Azure Active Directory working together in your policy engine to basically verify and check access requests based on the policies that you have put in for your organization. One of the big features, one of the big differentiators that you start seeing when you go from business premium to E3 and eventually E5, when you start getting into E3 and E5, things start getting more automated, right? It's kind of like, tell me once how I should react when, so if X happened, sorry, if A happens, what should B be? And then once B is satisfied, what should C be? Right. So as you set these policies, and this is where I would say from business premium, if you aren't that technical, you aren't that security focused, right? Like business premium is great because it has that wizard. When you get to E3 and E5, you get a little bit more freedom, right? You get a little bit more of a blank template, and it's like, hey, tell me how things should be done, right? So as you start, updating policies and putting things in place, and those actions or those conditions get invoked to the power of AI, right? Microsoft 365 actually gets smarter. So next time that happens again, it just references back to what did we do last time I got an incident like this? What was the correct course of actions and how do we rectify it? And it'll actually take those options, those suggestions in play, right? So for example, if you put in a policy saying, hey, if an attachment is deemed like a threat, I want you to move it to this folder, and then I want you to quarantine it for 14 days, and then I want an update being sent to X individual for them to investigate, and they have 14 days to either, destroy it, disintegrate it, or prove that it's all right, and we can move forward, right? So think of that as a hypothetical policy I would put in place. So if that is satisfied again next time around that instance happen, Microsoft 365 and the policy I put in are already smart enough to just run that script for you, right? So just something I definitely want to call out, that when you get to E3 and definitely on E5, this automation, this preemptive hunting or proactive hunting that Microsoft 365 does for you is a lot more prevalent in this side of the house than it would be on the business premium side of the house. And this also extends to enabling conditional access when it comes to the actual devices, and then also securing across operating systems, right? So it's not just Windows. You can go on iOS, you can go on Android, you can go on Linux, Macs. All your devices can be secured from this single pane of storage, of management, right? And again, is that whole concept of how do we reduce the attack surface on these areas? How do we reduce that to the best for possibilities to get to that zero trust operations, right? The sophistication of attacks these days are gone crazy, right? So it's very easy to get tricked when we have human intelligence play, and that's not a shot at anyone or anything. Is this, there's just so much the human monitoring or a human can do as opposed to what we can get done with AI and just a lot of this automation as well, right? So it's also very critical that we ensure that we are meeting the sophistications of these attackers with sophistication of also the right solutions in play to defend against that as well, right? Another one that I really like about here is to prevent conditional access of data on devices, right? So if you label data as customer sensitive, ensuring that if I'm Sampri Sahota and there is a shared desktop in our office, I come in, right, and I'm a sales guy. So I come in, I want to check my pipeline, I want to check CRM, whatever the case is, and then I log off. But then tomorrow someone else might come in and they work in compliance. They work in accounts receivable, accounts payable. Well, they don't need to see CRM, right? They don't need to see customers' sensitive information. They're more concerned with pending invoices. So how do you restrict certain users to have access to certain data inside your organization when there's shared resources as well? So think of a use case like that. If you are having shared desktop and workspaces, how do you ensure that you lock down that access, right? And that moves into protecting sensitive data as well. So one of the cool things about protecting data is, when we say protect data, it's not just, hey, here's all your data and protect it. There's different modes of data. There can be data that's at rest, right? There's data in transit, and there's also data in use, right? And depending on how this data is and what form factor it is in, attackers might be attacking a different way. If you're sending data through an unsecured network, they might be eavesdropping and just collecting information, right? You're sending passwords, you're sending sensitive company information or customer information, right? They'll be able to go ahead and actually eavesdrop on it, right? You can also discover and classify certain data as sensitive or not, right? Further locking down accidental sharing of that data. Let's say, for example, you don't want customers' POs or quotes being sent or being accessed on personal devices. I know I'm guilty of it when I was in sales. If I'm done work, right, I log off. It's 7 p.m., 8 p.m. I'm at home, connected to my home Wi-Fi, and I pull up Outlook, my work account on my laptop. Hey, did a customer respond back to me? Did I get that PO back or whatever? I click open it, I share it. That's awesome. That's great that I'm able to do that, right? But what's ensuring that a hacker isn't monitoring my home network? Right, I'm sending sensitive customer information. I'm accessing sensitive company or customer information on my device, right? So how do we lock that down where maybe I'm not allowed to access that while I'm not on company network, right? I have to be connected to a company network to be able to access that as well. So additional use cases like that to also consider. So from there, the next one we're talking about is simplified endpoint management. So how do you manage company owned and bring your own devices, right? So there's a couple of ways we can do that, right? One is delivering the best experience with Windows 11, which again has its own security safeguards in place to ensure devices are secured, right? Making sure that you know deploying devices with the policies you have set in place is done in an efficient and quick manner. And you can do this through Windows Autopilot, and then improve and reduce incidents as well as part of that device management, right? So let's look at that first step. So in Windows 11, hardware and software, right, security, they work together to basically keep people, data, devices protected and private, right? So there are some security defaults that protect you right out of the box, right? So it's going to defend you from, you know, things such as applications, right, that are going to prevent access by ensuring that there is security on there from a sense of login. So let's say you want someone to access, you send them a laptop, your company provides, you send them and you say, hey, you know what, every time you log into your Office 365 Outlook application, right, apart from having your own password, I also want you to enter in a PIN, right? So securing applications like that as well, also ensuring that they don't install applications on their machine that they're not supposed to also, right? So you don't want them to download Spotify on their desktop, no problem, you can lock that down for them. You don't want them to be using Google Chrome, no problem, you can lock that down for them also as well. But the good thing about it is once you kind of set up these policies and the way that specific users you're giving these devices to, or if they're bringing their own devices, how they need to manage them, you can actually create that as a script, as a template, right? And then push it out, right? So every time someone logs in, I'm not sure if some of y'all can remember, but I've experienced this a lot. at my previous role, when I actually onboarded remotely because it was during COVID, I got sent a device. I literally logged in they sent me my logins via email, password, username, and it basically walked me through the setup step. Hey, you need to set this up. You need to put it on here. You need to download the VPN step by step. So that way it helps you standardize and cut down costs in terms of actually managing individual device when you can just do bulk push outs like this as well, right? Which makes it really, really, really helpful and easy when you are deploying this out, right? Another oh gosh, if there's another example I wanted to share around this as well, it skips me. Maybe it comes back. I'll share it with you, but also ensuring that the OS and the hardware are working together in a marriage as well. And I got ahead of myself, but this slide is referencing to that autopilot. But then on autopilot, what they also have is auto patch, right? Um, auto patch is pretty cool. As we all know, Microsoft 365 and Microsoft in general, they'll push out updates, right? And sometimes these updates, they might not work well with your current version of your infrastructure, whatever you're running, right? So auto patch is actually pretty cool, where it will actually identify, right? So through Intune, it'll actually identify all the devices on your network. Either A, that need to get upgraded to Windows 11, or number two, they need some kind of security patch. It'll automatically schedule it for you, but it will also give you the opportunity to actually test it, like a break fix almost, to make sure it won't break nothing in your environment before you actually go and deploy it as well. So a cool little feature to not automatically force updates, and then your IT team's like, oh my God, what the hell did this update do? What did it break? I gotta reset. I gotta go back to an earlier version, then upgrade again. Auto patch eliminates a lot of that work for your IT team as well. And then simplified management, right? So you have all of this in one place, right? A single pane of glass where you can see all your devices connected to your environment, their health, their connectivity, their status, patches, security loopholes, updates that are pending. You can schedule them, you can bulk them into different groups, just making it very, very easy for you to actually manage those endpoints. And again, done through Windows. One another cool thing you also get in E3, current in E5 is also if you have printers on premise, right, through Windows 11 for enterprise, you can actually move those legacy printers or those legacy server printers on your on-prem and move it right into the cloud through Windows 11 as well. So there's no need to have those print servers actually on premise as well. So a cool little piece of Timbit to also help push you through the cloud as well by eliminating some of those on-premise technology that you might have, kind of going back again to that total cost of ownership and all that good stuff. And then finally, we're going to finish off with the productivity side of E3 as well. And the productivity side is similar, is the same in E5, E3, and Business Premium. But I just wanted to specifically call it out here on the E3 side of the house. So, how do we do that, right? And we do that through teams, right? Where you're able to connect with everybody. It's designed for all type of workers, whether it's informational workers or frontline workers. Chat, meet, collaborate, brainstorm all in one place. One of the things I really love about teams is this whole concept of the meeting workflow, right? So when you do the meeting workflow, right? Think of yourself when you're in a meeting and you have your colleagues or customers and you're trying to have a conversation, and then the customer and hey, we needed that document, or we needed that link, or we need another individual to pull in. Well, with Microsoft Teams, because it's built on that cloud platform, you can do all that at once. I, from the meeting, can launch a PowerPoint. I can open up an Excel. I can get everybody to work on it. I can send everyone meeting recaps after. Even if you didn't make it onto the meeting, you'll get those meeting recaps if you're on the invite. So what this really helps to do is ignore external distractions and taking you away from that meeting flow and keeping you in the Teams meeting flow by giving you access to everything you need right in there. I love the fact that I can just ring someone in my organization and they can just accept it and get pulled into the call. No more do I have to stop the call, send out another meeting detail with phone numbers, a login, set up an account first, enter your name, all that stuff through Azure Active Directory, because all the users are on there. Teams will pick up from there and boom, just bring everyone in. Their team name's already set up. They don't have to do anything additional. It's very natural, right? And that's what ultimately Teams wants to get to, is recreating that natural feel of real in-person meetings, but doing it in a digital space. And then finally, things such as Microsoft 365 productivity apps to help unlock new ways of working. And one way I'll call this out is with Microsoft Loop. It's a new feature that comes again free. It was just an update done. So imagine you create a Microsoft Word document and you share it with a whole bunch of folks, right? And then from there, there's like a table, chart, whatever it could be, something that needs additional input. It needs to be filled with data, right? Instead of copying and pasting it, right, format gets all wonky, or creating an Excel and then reformatting it, or copying and pasting it and sending it to different people. Can you fill it up? Can you fill it up? What you can actually do now is you can loop. So it's a syntax, it's a command you would put saying loop comment. It will loop whatever comment you want. So let's say, for example, in this Word document, it was a chart. You can loop that chart and put that looped comment right into a Teams chat. What that does is once you reference that looped comment into the Teams chat, it'll automatically bring that chart in there. Whoever you need to interact with it, put in information, they can go ahead and put that in. And wherever that loop comment lives, whether it's in Word, SharePoint, OneNote, Teams, Excel, wherever that chart lives, it'll automatically get updated as well, right? So it's little features like this that that Microsoft is trying to rechange the way that we traditionally do work and bring out new patterns of working. And one of them is with Loop. Another great feature on Microsoft 365 Teams is now you have the option to actually translate 20 different languages with live captions. And again, this is done through the power of AI. So imagine how many blockers and that's going to bring down. I remember when I was a sales rep, and I used to prospect into like the Quebec market, right? One of the biggest challenges I used to get is I was not able to speak French, but now I can have a full out conversation, a full out call with a client, right? They can speak French, I can speak English, but the captions below will get the
Jake, your
trying to
voice
get
is
the.
breaking.
Is it better now, Richa?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah. So I think I just had a little bit of a bump there in my connectivity, but we're back. Um, and then again, this is just connecting your engaging with your employees as well through Viva, which is just basically feedback of your users' behavior. So how long they were on screen, how many emails did they reply to. So you can help understand the patterns of your workforce, and then enable new ways to help them work. If you're seeing one team is so heavily and dominant, reliant on emails, maybe there's a training campaign in there to help them understand how they can be more effective by leveraging that same concept, but with teams sending one message as opposed to bulk load of different emails. I know with the Rogers team right now, that's one of the evolutions our organization has had, right? I used to be flooded and inundated with so many emails from Rogers, things like this, like let's help, let's get on calls, customers, inquiries, this and that. And through the evolution of this relationship, it's all kind of shifted to Teams now, where it used to be 3, 4, 5 emails, 2, 3 calls, is now a couple of chats on Teams, and we're up and running, right? So significantly reducing that cycle as well, to unlock those new ways of working. All right. And now we're going to finish off with Microsoft 365 E5. So whatever I've been saying from a business premium from an E3, this is all included in E5, because you can't get any higher than E5. It comes packed and loaded with everything that you need. So what it does include above and beyond E3 are these four mentioned above. So it extends your security, right, to also identify and threats protections to help stop damaging attacks with integrated and automated security. Remember that keyword I said that as you get to E3 and E5, things start getting very, very automated. It's the truest statement when you get to E5, because at this point, it's pretty much tell you five security services one way. How do you want to do things? And leave it at that. And it gets smarter as more incident log files get ingested into this security feature, which by the way is called Sentinel. So Microsoft 365 Sentinel. That's the term that we use for our AI-powered learning solution in the backend. That's really powering E5. The next big one is compliance. So if you are in an industry that relies heavily on compliance, whether it's retention, data, um, sensitivity labels, sharing of content. That compliancy, regulation compliancy is built into Microsoft 365. Obviously, the voice component of it as well, Microsoft 365 already comes loaded with all the voice add-on to enable functionalities that you would get with Rogers, such as Operator Connect and Teams Phone Mobile. And then finally, the analytics. Microsoft 365 comes with Power BI capabilities already loaded in there. So again, you can derive more value from the data that your organization interacts with. So what's included in Microsoft 365? You have that enterprise mobility plus security E5. So again, extend that identity and threat protection with integrated and automated security to help stop damaging attacks. So again, that automated proactive security. You get Office 365 E3, which is going to give you Power BI, audio conferencing, and the capabilities to enable that voice in the cloud. The compliance that I already talked about, and then Windows 11 Enterprise. The thing with Windows 11 Enterprise E5, it provides you the ability to virtualize, right? So you can actually virtualize your Windows 11 environment directly to your employees, your customers, however you think that use case works best for your organization. Now let's look at some. Now I'm not going to go through all of them, but just wanted to call this out for the audience as well. Is these are services that are unique to E5. Now, I will put a caveat here by saying that these are all included in E5. However, they are also included as add-ons. So for example, you can purchase Microsoft 365 E5 security plus information protection as an add-on onto E3, or even the compliance portion. That compliance module can also be purchased as an add-on to E3. But again, this is to my earlier point, the conversation of working with the correct partner to really help you understand what's the right fit for me. Do I go with E3 and then add on all these licenses, and then I have multiple licenses to manage, multiple end days, but does that work out better for my organization? Because I might have some other solutions in my environment that E5 would be, a duplication, right? A replica, or do I just go to full E5 because it just makes more economical sense from a cost perspective, because I'm going to go on Operator Connect, or down the line I see my organization using Teams Phone Mobile, right? So flexibility is there, right? You can customize. There's more than one way to achieve what you want to achieve with Microsoft 365. It's just what makes most sense for your organization. And what you really see is an E5. So let's say, for example, Azure Active Directory Premium 1, Plan 1, right? It comes in Premium and it comes in E3. But then you'll see on E5 is the Plan 2 version. So a lot of things you see in E3 and Business Premium, excuse me, that are like Plan 1s. And automatically in E5 is Plan 2s, which will add like a couple of additional services. So for example, threat hunting, right? So let's say you want Microsoft 365 to proactively hunt for vulnerabilities in your environment. E5 will have those capabilities. Let's say you want to do a simulated attack, like a sandbox attack of what would happen if a virus attacked your environment, what are the precautions and what are the steps you take? Well, if you want to create that sandbox environment testing, E5 will provide those capabilities for you as well. So some of the security capabilities only available in E3, and I called out a couple of them as well, right? So you can authenticate based on machine learning, right? Again, it's going to detect the patterns and logins and attributes of different users and different documents and different applications to see if there's anomalies and things above and beyond what you would usually see, right? So that's the first one, machine learning. Again, that whole concept of getting more automated now. Control access to sensitive data, even when it's shared outside of your organization. So that's very key. If I'm like, for example, I'll share this right now on Teams. My organization, Microsoft, does not let me share files to external users. So if I'm talking to Grant, Ryan, or Rija, and they're saying, "Hey, share a file over Teams," I actually can't do that. They've locked that down for me, right? So you have those capabilities when you have E5 improved in there. Shadow IT is a huge, huge component. So with Shadow IT, the concept of Shadow IT is, you download an application, you think, let's say Spotify, I'll just for the sake of argument, Spotify, just to listen to music. But in the back end, Spotify might be collecting information on what region you're accessing the songs from, how long you're accessing it. Maybe it's getting access to your microphone on your device as well, right? Maybe by logging into by downloading it on your company machine on your network, it's also sharing, is also getting credentials to your Wi-Fi, right? So uncovering these additional access and shadow IT that you would not necessarily be so brazen to at the beginning is something else that can also be helped out with E5, right? And the rest of them, the bottom three, pretty much still talk to that. Hey, proactive machine learning, artificial intelligence, and then proactively responding to it, right? The key here is you ingest what you want done when something happens, and then after a couple of trial runs, it just knows what to do on its own through the power of Microsoft Sentinel and artificial intelligence. So these next couple of slides, I won't berate everybody with each individual line item, but it's just to show and hit home that idea of, hey, E3 is awesome. Is you're getting into that point of self automation and it's really exploring with AI and being proactive. But then E5 really does it take it to that next level. But then, like I also mentioned, is you have the standalone as well. So for example, E5 compliance can be added on to E3 to fill in some of these gaps that E3 doesn't have, but E5 does have as well, right? So that is totally available for you, right? Such as things like sensitivity labels, right? So sensitivity labels, you can mark low, medium, high. This is customer data, whatever the case is. And again, when you ingest those files into Sentinel, right? Hey, these are the kind of sensitivity labels I have. When you put new data in there and it mimics those characteristics of those sensitivity labels, it'll automatically proactively label it for you, and also make sure those policies you put for users are invoked as well without you actually having to tell it, right? So it's a very, very smart engine. But it just needs those initial ingested files for it to really get that baseline, figure out how it's going to do when something arises. Again, same thing with security, right? So you can purchase the E5 security, which will give you these additional add-ons on E3. But yeah, apart from that, from a threat protection, it is you can see you get the plan 2 versions of it. You get some additional services as well that you wouldn't get for E3, such as Defender for identity. So far, we'll only be talking about Defender for endpoint and Defender for Office, but Defender for identity also works too, which secures that user attack surface that we discussed earlier as well. Okay, this is for identity and access management. Again, I'm not going to go through it. These decks will be shared will be available to the teams after. So I wanted to put some of these slides here as great references for the audience to really see what above and beyond comes in E5 as opposed to E3. And let me see, I know we wanted to finish up on a demo here. Yes, the only, this last slide here, the only one that's like for like is endpoint and app management. That in E3 and E5, you're literally getting like for like in terms of functionality and features. It's really the security and compliance portion of E5 that's different from E3. Compliance and security being powered by AI. Now, another great feature about Microsoft 365 E5 is this whole idea of like, if you get to E5 from a licensing perspective, you're pretty much set up for either Operator Connect or Teams Phone Mobile as well. I just want to take a quick second to kind of walk through, what are some of the benefits of Teams Phone Mobile that might be advantageous to your organization, right? So first of all, it's going to create a unified communication experience, whether your employees or your organization uses the native dialer on their phone, right? That we've all used, whether it's whichever carrier you have, or they use the Teams phone application as well, right? The experience is similar. So now you can just streamline access without having two different dial paths, right? Reduce costs and eliminate redundancy, right? So again, you can eliminate fixed lines and their mobile for remote workers and reduce international, long distance, intra-company call dialing all through Teams Phone Mobile, because now that becomes your one singular point for both, your voice over IP or PBX, and then your regular like wireless plans as well, right? Streamlining the management and governance of it also as well through Microsoft Teams Admin Center. You actually will be able to see, analytics to those call qualities, right? Was there hop? Was there chatter? Was there lag involved in it? How you can make those better for yourself? How you can improve on that to give a better experience, right? And then also you deliver a business grade mobile communication solution that's also powered by 5G networks, right? But then later on down, as that grows as well, this will also be capable of it too. Now, if this does sound exciting, like I would definitely implore the audience to join us again next week, where we're going into a deep dive into Operator Connect and Teams Phone Mobile. But just wanted to call out that from a E5 perspective, from a license comparison, you're set up, you're ready to go to kind of take advantage of Operator Connect, and then if you do choose to, Teams Phone Mobile as well. Awesome, Ryan. I'm gonna hand it over to you for your part, and I think we should have a few moments towards the end where I can do a little bit of a demo for the audience as well. But I'll hand it over to you to do this slide.
Thanks, Sanpreet. That was a very good walkthrough for the premium enterprise SKUs and features comparison. So let me quickly walk you through this slide. So the Rogers Advantage. So Microsoft licenses could be purchased either through Microsoft Direct. So why would you come to Rogers? So there are five main pillars that makes our Microsoft 365 offering unique in the market and sets us apart. First is the simplified interaction. As one of the largest telcos in Canada, you can easily take out all the hassle that comes with dealing with multiple vendors and consolidate all of your transactions. Have only one partner that provides Microsoft 365, voice, wireless, and also data center. So basically, you'll be dealing with one partner and you will be getting one bill. The second pillar is the one-on-one onboarding setup. When you get Microsoft 365 from Rogers, you will get the chance to set up a call with one of our Microsoft experts that would help provide guidance throughout the onboarding process, included for free to all our customers. We also offer paid white glove service to help with migration and configuration if you're transitioning from on-prem or are currently with a different email provider. Moving on, and after you're onboarded successfully, and in the rare instance you need to call for support, we have bilingual Rogers specialists who are ready to help by phone or email. Rogers will be your main and only point of contact, and will work directly with Microsoft until case resolution. Moving over to the fourth pillar there, in today's economy, like we're all feeling the inflation pressure, and definitely wouldn't want to miss out on any chance to cut down costs, which is exactly what Rogers is providing here for customers that purchase multiple products such as wireless select plans or wireline combined with Microsoft 365. And the last pillar that we have there at the bottom is the management simplification. So after your onboarding is completed, And let's say a few months down the road, your business needs change and you need to scale up or down, or maybe cancel a subscription you purchased. You can do all of that on the self-serve portal without the need to call in, which will save you time and effort. So those are the five key highlights of why you would want to purchase Microsoft 365 with Rogers. And with that, Sanpreet, I'll turn it back to you for the demo.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that, Ryan. So let me just go ahead and share another screen where I have the demo teed up and ready to go. Everyone can see here? Yeah?
Yep, I can see it.
Awesome. Amazing. I'm going to walk the team through, a hypothetical scenario in the day of a life of an employee as they get their day started and kind of finish their day off as well. So using Microsoft 365 as their solution. So we're going to be looking at how we can get more done with less using Microsoft 365. So we begin with our day with Megan, looking at her feed through Teams, and she sees that, hey, she's got an email from her manager asking for something. So, the manager's asking for an update on the expense report. So, he shared it with her right there on Teams. Megan is able to open up the Excel sheet right on her device. And it's cool because you don't have to retrain. Once you learn it on one device, it's applicable on the other one as well. So she opens up a Excel sheet here on her phone, but then you'll notice that there is a camera button right down here for her as well. So she goes ahead and clicks on that. And she has a chart already, right, of her expenses. She printed it out. She has it. So instead of manually copying this in, she can use the application, take a photo of her chart, whatever it is on paper, whatever it might be, and she can extract that table and put it right into Microsoft Excel, right? And being that it's cloud enabled, it's shared with her manager as well. So her manager can actually see this data in real time as well as she's making this update to the expense report. Okay, so now she's done doing that expense. She's traveling. She's in commute to get to her place, to her point A, to the office now, her home, wherever it might be, right? So while she's driving, she opens up Outlook, which is symbolized right here. And through Outlook, there is a feature where, if you're driving, it will actually help you play back your email. So if you click on your profile picture in there, there's a little play button here, and that will actually allow you to play your emails. Again, stay focused on the road. Don't want you to be checking emails as you're driving. So it'll play it for you wherever the email is. It'll say it out to you. This is done by Cortana, so you can change the voices, however that is. But boom, it'll play out the email, and then it'll ask, hey, how do you want to respond to it? So here, Megan can actually, with her voice command, say, can you flag this email for me? Because it's something that I need to follow up on once I arrive to my location. So she asks Cortana to flag it. Cortana flags it to her Outlook app. You're all caught up. Your emails are good. So now when she arrives at her office and she opens up Outlook on her device, she can see that flagged email from before during her ride in her car. So starts working on it, right? And as she flagged it, she sees that it was actually a request to update a renewable energy presentation. While she was away, so she was on vacation, she wasn't working anymore. Another colleague in another time zone, another place in a country, started it, updated it, and they left a comment for her saying, hey, can you design these slides better? So again, when I come back, I'm just proactively getting caught up. I'm not chasing individuals down to understand what did I miss, what do I need to do. Everything is there in the comments, such as in a timeline fashion, right? So again, I see the comment, and I can also see that there's some changes while I was there. There were some changes made as well, and they need my help. They need Megan's help to basically make this presentation a bit more attractive. So through PowerPoint, it'll actually provide design ideas, right, through AI as well, based on what the topic is, what you're looking to do in your presentation. It'll actually make some suggestions on how to make this a little bit more of an appealing presentation, right? So make some suggestions, and it's basically going to make these suggestions throughout all her presentation. Decide to do this, decide to do that. So great, that's an awesome start. It looks way better than where it was before. But then what about the colors, right? What about the font? Is it accessible? And accessibility doesn't mean that you actually are with an accessible oh gosh, I want to be a bit sensitive, but if you have accessibility, it doesn't mean like I can't see you or I can't hear or whatever. Sometimes accessibility also means that, it's just it's perfectly okay, but I still find it hard to understand, or I find it hard to look. It hurts my eyes. The font's too small, all that good stuff as well. So PowerPoint actually has an accessibility checker, which will actually suggest, hey, this font is not ideal for being able to read, or it doesn't match with the theme you're trying to do, or the colors don't match also as well. So it'll actually make suggestions for you and how you can fix it, right? So for example, it's asking here, saying change the color of this table to be a bit more attractive and a bit easier to consume. So it went all with this light blue hue on it, right? And so once you actually do this accessibility, you also get checks, right? So say, hey, checks are good, you're awesome, you're fine. So now that you've created, now that this presentation is created, we want to rehearse it as well. So there's a new feature in PowerPoint called rehearsal coach, which will actually provide feedback as you are presenting. So you go through a dry run, it hears you, it listens to you, and it provides feedback. Hey, you're saying too much. Your pitch is too high, or your pitch is too low. You need to stop summarizing your slides and actually go into a bit more detail, right? So it's a great way for you to understand the impact of your presentation and where you can improve. And then at the end, it will actually give you a little bit of a report to see where you can improve and where you did really well as well, which is great. And this next component, now you're done with everything, the chart and all that good stuff. This next component over here is really going to highlight what I discussed earlier, which was that loop comment, right? So now we have Word open, we choose our editor. I think everyone's kind of gone through editor, it tells you got something wrong. But now in Word, we actually have an editor score, which will tell you out of 100% how many error-free, how error-free your document is. So again, right, you would just go through all the steps, clean up all your errors. You'll see your number over here is improving also as well as you go through these suggestions, and you want to obviously get it to 100% or close enough to it as possible. You'll just let the demo finish up here. Amazing. And now this is what I'm talking about, that loop comment. So you actually see here, we're going to be looking at, so there's a table here which already started as a loop comment, right? So we go ahead and loop this comment. So now you see the syntax. So you go loop comment, it's going to sync with all the loop comments that are available. Because this was previously loop comment and only loop comment, it just referenced this. And then you can see that, hey, you've asked teammates to fill this out. So they're filling this up here right now. And wherever else this chart lives will automatically get updated with all this content that just got put in there as well. It's syncing, and that has pretty much changed updated everywhere. And then finally, you can bring everything home with Viva Insight. That will basically give you a full feedback of everything that was done by this user in this day, from all the different applications they touched, everything that they did, how many clicks, screen time, so you can uncover new patterns of helping your employees work in a different capacity. So with that, I will stop sharing the demo and hand it back over to the Rogers team to bring us home.
Thanks, Sanpreet. I know we are almost at time, 3 minutes there. I only have one slide. So, Richa, would you be sharing the deck there? Perfect, perfect. So before closing off today, let me quickly touch on the key takeaways of why Rogers. Besides the unique value prop that we have with TPM, being the only carrier in Canada that has that gives unparalleled voice quality, we will also help with your onboarding for Microsoft 365 licenses, initial tenant setup, as well as tier 1 and tier 2 support. You'll be able to purchase and manage licenses through self-serve, and you'll receive one bill for all of your Rogers services. And you'll also save when you combine your Microsoft subscription with a wireless or a wireless or a wireline plan. We also offer Veeam Backup, which is a great add-on, allowing you to secure your Microsoft 365 data in the cloud. You can choose the retention period and set the backup frequency. And in case of an accidental deletion on your Microsoft account, you'd be able to quickly restore that data for business continuity. Important to note that your data will be in the Rogers state-of-the-art Tier 3 data center within our Canadian borders, meeting the more strict data sovereignty compliance and regulation. The last great perk here ties to the one-stop shop provider for all your needs in case you're looking for a complete voice solution with hardware. you won't need to shop elsewhere, as we'll provide all your IP phone, headsets, as well as Teams rooms and USB cameras through our world-renowned partners, Poly and Jabra. And with that, that concludes the presentation for today. So let's open it up. I know we only have a minute here, but let's open up for a quick Q&A.
Just fielding a couple of questions in the chat. I think the last one was, maybe I'll just answer it verbally. There's a question just a moment ago about, you know, what's Rogers' differentiator, or how do we compare against other carriers? Not so much from the Teams mobile side, but from the Microsoft plan side. And I was just, I think I was just saying, Ryan's covering it now. It's really kind of us being a bit of a one-stop shop together for your Microsoft licensing, together with personalized and set up and support for those licenses through us, as well as you know, some of the other offerings around the solution, be they phone sets required for Teams, or Veeam backup in order to be able to provide full and unlimited backup for your 365. We've got a lot of those products and features that are all rolled out to help become kind of a single place, sort of for all of the different needs that you'd have around the Microsoft solution.
An eFax solution too, like I didn't include it in the slide, but eFax as well. Like if the customer needs a faxing solution in the cloud, Microsoft does not have that, so we do have that product to complement the Microsoft offering.
Okay, really good. Well, and I guess we're at the bottom of the hour, so I think we're just at time, or slightly over time. Just want to thank everybody for joining us today. I hope that the webinar was informative for you. Hopefully, it answered some of the questions that you may have had. Lots of great information there. Thank you, Sunpreet, and thank you, Ryan, for both of those. Again, if there's any further questions, you can always reach out to any of us on the webinar. And again, if you want to learn more a little bit on the connectivity side, go to our website, and there's a link to sign up for the webinar on Operator Connect and Teams Mobile next week. Okay, with that, we'll close it off here. Thanks again, everyone, for joining, and have a great rest of your day.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.